Maggie Lindsay here with South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. My job title is Education Services Coordinator, and one of the parts of my job is teaching people how to fish. In fact, it's my favorite part of my job. So today I'm going to do a very short video on what you need if you're a beginner, what you need to purchase to go fishing. The first thing you need, of course, is a fishing rod. If you're a beginner, the easiest rod and reel combo to get is the spin fishing. Spin fishing has a closed face, and it's a very simple rod and reel to learn to use. You release the line by pushing the button, the line comes out, and you just reel it in. Very simple. So that's what I recommend for the beginner. Other things that you're going to need is, I've put a towel on here because you're going to need a fish towel once you get out there and hopefully get fish slime on your hands. The next thing you're going to need is something to remove the hook from the mouth of the fish. I've got two different examples here. If you're going to do something, fish for something small like panfish or trout, these little things are really good. These forceps, they're very good for removing the hook from the fish's mouth. And bigger fish, walleye and that, and catfish, you can use a needle nose pliers. You can get these cheap at the hardware store. Forceps you can usually find used places, or you can just get them at the fishing tackle spot at your sporting goods store. The next thing you're going to need is a couple of tools, some kind of tool for cutting line. Clippers, you can use just a regular fingernail clippers. You don't need to get one specifically for fishing. And then I have this scissors in my kit because we sometimes fish with different kinds of line, and this is awful handy to have a little scissors. So you don't need both of them, you can have one or the other. Another tool you're going to need is a measuring instrument. Now this is not necessarily to brag about your catch. Of course you want to brag about your catch if you catch a nice fish, but in a lot of South Dakota waters there's length restrictions. So you need to check with your regulations and have a good measuring tool. This is one of mine I use in my kayak, and since where I fish, the minimum size of walleyes needs to be 15 inches, I actually put a dark mark at 15. So it's very simple for me to put my fish, lay it on here, and I can see immediately if it's 15 inches or under. You can just get a simple little tape measure at your hardware store if you want to go that route without spending much money. The next thing you're going to need is something to hold your fish. A simple string, one of these simple little stringers is very easy to use and very inexpensive. This is just basic tackle that you can use to catch almost every kind of fish in South Dakota. The first thing, of course, you're going to need is hooks. The smaller hooks, the larger the number, the smaller the hook. These are 4s. 4s are good for just about anything in South Dakota. You might want to go with a little bigger hook if you're fishing for catfish or pike. But for panfish or walleye, number 4s work. You can even go down to a number 6 or a number 8 if you're just exclusively fishing panfish. So basic hooks. Weights. You can't go wrong with split shot. Split shot is really nice because you don't have to tie any knots. You can take it on and off the line. You can add to or take away from. Very, very simple split shot. And it's easy to rig your rod. I kind of like these little drop casting sinkers that you tie on the end. I use these a lot for trout or catfish and even walleye for just a real simple setup. The next thing is bobbers. I love to bobber fish. Bobber fish is fun because you just watch the bobber. You can see it go down when you catch a fish. It makes fishing so much easier to know when you're getting a bite. There's different kinds of bobbers. There's just a snap-on bobber that you can hook on your line. These are very inexpensive and easy to get, and you just adjust the depth by putting it on your line. The other one that I really like too is a slip bobber. A slip bobber, you slide the line through the bobber and then you adjust its depth by putting on a bobber stop that you'll need to tie onto your line. The nice thing is if you're fishing and you discover the fish are biting shallow, you can make the bobber shallow, or you can make it deep if you're fishing deep water. It's better in deep water, and whereas you can use this one for a shallow water setup. Another thing that you're going to need is your regulations. need to study those regulations before you fish. And then we offer this publication at Game Fish and Parks, Guide to Your Fishes. So if you don't know your fish species, this is very handy. It shows you all the different species in South Dakota, and you can look them up and figure out what you caught. And check with the regulations. Make sure there's not a size limit and on that fish. And also you need to know the limits of each of those fish that you can catch. The next simple thing is just a simple little tackle box. There's two different types represented here. The hard couple tray tackle box, which is very handy. You can put everything you need in there. And then the soft-sided, which is easy to carry because it has a carrying strap. And then you just put different trays in. So last few little items. I love 5-gallon buckets. 5-gallon buckets are so handy for everything, but for fishing they're wonderful. You can put all your stuff in there to walk down to the lake. You can put a few snacks in there or whatever. And then when you come back, you just can put your fish in there and bring your fish back. Plus, if you forgot a chair, you can flip it upside down and sit on it. So it's very handy to have your fish bucket, your 5-gallon bucket. The other thing is a landing net. It's kind of difficult sometimes to land fish without a landing net. You can do it though. You can run them up on shore, but you can go get an inexpensive landing net that will work just fine. This is kind of a cool one that collapses. I got for my kayak because I do a lot of kayak fishing, but that's what this one is for. Nice landing net. And last but not least, make sure and pack a cooler with your best snacks. But bring a chair. I have a nice comfortable chair that I always take fishing with me, so I can be comfortable sitting on that shoreline and have fun in the South Dakota lakes. And if you have any questions about fishing, just get on our website.